Young. I am the VSB chair, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. With deep gratitude and respect, we are honored to be learning and unlearning on the ancestral and unceded lands of the Hamaquiam, Skohomishokomeo, and Tsleil-Waututh. This meeting is being currently broadcast live, and both the audio and video recordings will be accessible for viewing after the meeting ends. The board has a strong commitment to ethical conduct. It is our collective responsibility to ensure that our meetings are conducted in a safe and respectful manner. As a Board of Education for school district, it is important we model the behavior we expect of students in our schools. If members of the public have a question for the public question period, which is item 10 on tonight's agenda, they can submit it using the link provided on the board's website. And the link will stay active until just after item 6, which is the student trustee report that our student trustee will present. And if you're attending in person and would like to submit a question, we have an iPad available on the left-hand side of the room, and staff are here to help as well if there are any questions or needs of accessibility to use the iPad. As we prepare to welcome February next week, I'd like to recognize it is a month filled with many meaningful occasions for our communities. February marks Black History Month, a time to reflect on and celebrate achievements, history, and legacy of Black communities. There will be many activities in our schools throughout the month, and beyond activities in our schools, I encourage people to also check out the Vancouver Black Library in Chinatown and the Hogan's Alley Society upcoming events. The month ahead also includes important but sometimes lesser known observances, such as White Cane Week, from February the 1st to the 7th. This week of February the 1st to 7th works to raise awareness about the experiences of Canadians who are blind or partially sighted. Here at the VSB, it's an opportunity to highlight the importance of accessibility in our schools and communities. Later in the month, we'll also mark Pink Shirt Day, a time when our school district comes together to promote kindness, inclusion, and anti-bullying. On February 16th, we'll join people across BC in celebrating Family Day. On behalf of the board, we hope everyone has the opportunity to join loved ones and to enjoy their time together. A reminder, it is budget time. Financial planning, our financial planning process is currently underway. I'd like to thank members of the Indigenous Education Council, or the IEC, and our stakeholder groups for early input that has been shared with staff, and for your ongoing participation in this important work as we continue. We encourage all members of our school communities to visit our VSB website and complete the budget survey. The budget survey will be open until February the 2nd. And a reminder that all the input that we receive will help inform the budget decisions we make at this table. There are other additional ways to share perspectives, and I encourage those to write to us. So you can send an email to budget@vsb.bc.ca or by mail to the attention of the Secretary Treasurer's Office. And those will be accepted until April the 16th. You can also share perspectives directly with the board on April 15th at the public delegation meeting. Registration for delegations will open following a regular public meeting on February the 25th. And thanks to everyone who has already and who will share their perspectives moving forward. Moving to tonight's agenda, staff and trustees here are at the Education Center, and I welcome Superintendent McGregor, the Secretary Treasurer Flavia Coughlin, and my fellow trustees who will ask to introduce themselves, starting with my right.
Josh Lang, trustee.
Susie Ma, trustee.
Trustee Christopher Richardson.
Trustee Reddy, she, her.
Alvo Chin, trustee.
Preeti Faridko, trustee. Lois Champedley, trustee.
Lee Zhang, student trustee.
Janet Fraser, trustee, she, her.
Great, thank you. Before we proceed with the meeting, I kindly ask everyone to put their cell phones away or just ensure they're on silent so that we can focus on discussions at hand. We'll move to the agenda, approval. So I'll move that the agenda be approved as presented. Is there a seconder? Trustee Ma, thank you. If there's no objections, we'll approve the agenda by consensus. Okay. Thank you very much. Approved. So on item number 3 on the agenda, adoption of minutes. Okay, so meeting of November the 26th, 2025, special meeting of December 17th, 2025, and special meeting of December 18th, 2025. Under matters arising, is there a mover and seconder to adopt the minutes of November 26th, 2025, December 17th, 2025, and December 18th, special board meeting? Thank you, Trustee Ma. Trustee Friedcoat. Any questions or comments about the meeting minutes? Great, seeing none. There are no objections. We'll adopt the minutes of the dates on the board. Okay, great, thank you very much. Matters arising. Okay, seeing none, we'll go to number 4 on the agenda, which is the superintendent's update.
Thank you, Chair, and welcome everybody to the first board meeting of 2026. If we can move to the next slide. So superintendent's tribute is always a lovely opportunity in these board meetings. So this evening, I'd like to recognize Kyle Chen, VSB student. Kyle Chen is a grade 12 student at Sir Winston Churchill Secondary School who exemplifies creativity, leadership, and a deep commitment to community. With a strong passion for architecture and design, Kyle has distinguished himself as an emerging young designer whose work thoughtfully reflects his student experience within the Vancouver School District. Kyle is the creator of The Shoal, an original large-scale art installation that will be displayed at the VSB Board Education Center, and you can see it on the screen. This 5-foot diameter wooden ring features over 100 individually crafted fish, each representing one of the schools across the district. Conceived and completed independently on his own time, The Shoal is a personal reflection of Kyle's educational journey and his desire to give back to the system that shaped him. The School of Fish symbolizes collaboration, mutual support, and collective growth, while the vibrant colors celebrate the diversity, individuality, and talents of students throughout the district. Through this work, Kyle powerfully communicates the importance of connectedness and shared purpose. Beyond The Shoal, Kyle has contributed to public spaces through architectural scale models, including a scale model of the Museum of Vancouver, showcased at the museum's community gallery. You can see an image. And a scale model of the Vancouver International Airport, displayed at YVR's observation deck. So if you're there, please look out for it. These projects highlight how young people can meaningfully contribute to public storytelling through design and visual representation. In addition to his artistic accomplishments, Kyle has taken on leadership roles that empower other students to explore architecture and design. He has helped initiate projects that encourage young people to apply creative problem solving to real community challenges, including design-focused competitions and learning opportunities for students of all ages. He has also supported teams participating in regional creative building events, where their work is being recognized for their strong representation of local perspectives. Kyle's character is reflected in his quiet confidence, his thoughtfulness, and genuine sense of responsibility to others. His decision to independently create The Shoal, not for recognition, but as an act of gratitude and service to his school community, speaks to his integrity and generosity of spirit. Through his creativity, leadership, and care for those around him, Kyle represents the very best of our students and reminds us of the profound impact young people can have when guided by purpose. Kyle has attended Sir Winston Churchill Secondary since grade 8, participating in both the Synergy and Prelude programs. He graduates this June with a strong academic record and a passion for media design, drafting, and studio art. Aspiring to become an architect, his creativity and discipline form the blueprint of a promising future, one he is already shaping with thoughtful, high-quality work that reflects both his vision and the communities that inspire him. So congratulations, Kyle. If all of his supporters can come up to the front for a photo, please. This is a part of what we'd like to do to recognize you and everybody around you who supported your success. All right. Thank you for that. We cannot wait to actually see the shoal in person and on display at the Education Center. So thank you very much to Kyle and all of his supporters. Have a great evening. We can move to the next slide, please, and I'll continue the superintendent highlights for this evening. So on the screen, in December, we celebrated the official opening of Henry Hudson Elementary School. We were joined by VSB trustees, Victoria Young, Janet Fraser, Christopher Richardson, and the Honorable Brenda Bailey, MLA for Vancouver, South Granville. The seismic replacement school and expansion adds 390 seismically safe seats and 145 new seats for students with the expansion. 2 levels of the new 3-story school are dedicated to the school uses and include a new neighborhood learning center on the main floor. The top level of the school is dedicated to a new childcare center, and we were also able to have the acting deputy mayor present because of that collaboration with the City of Vancouver. The school's unique design integrates student breakout spaces and common areas for flexible learning. New recreation spaces include a larger gymnasium, a new school field, and additional outdoor play spaces. It was very much a joy to have students actively participate in the official opening, and also representatives from Hamaquiam and Squamish Nation. You can see an image there of students who played the Coast Salish anthem as part of the opening ceremony. Next slide, please. In December, staff across the district took part in our annual VSB Gives Back campaign in support of the Vancouver Firefighter Charity Snacks for Kids program. In total, the 2025 VSB Gives Back campaign raised $28,981, with all funds directly supporting the Vancouver Firefighter Charity Snacks for Kids program. Snacks for Kids plays an important role in schools by providing daily healthy snacks like fresh fruits and vegetables and nourishing meals to more than 10,000 students. The program spans across more than 100 VSB schools and after-school programs. This collective effort reflects the deep commitment of our VSB community as we continue to support the well-being of students. And we are so very grateful to everyone for their incredible support, and to all of the Vancouver firefighters who volunteer their time for this incredibly impactful program. So you can see some images there from some of the events that happened. Next slide. We are very proud to see VSB schools among the finalists of the CBC Music Class Challenge at the end of last year. Laurier placed first in the elementary kindergarten to grade 3 category for their vocal performance of I'm Like a Bird by Nelly Furtado. Laurier's intermediate choir also placed third for their performance of I'm Like a Bird. Nootka Elementary placed second for their studio production of Confetti by Charlotte Carden. An honorable mention also goes to Britannia Secondary's guitar class, who earned a top 10 spot for their senior instrumental performance of Crab Bucket by Chaos. So another year-end achievement included students from Vantech winning the Hyatt Regency's annual Gingerbread Lane contest for their Peppermint Palace, pictured on the left. It's kind of in the background behind the students, not the greatest picture of their palace. But just great student achievement in so many different areas across the SB. Next slide. As we move into January, actually last week, from January 20th to 22nd, educators from VSB gathered, and we were at Henry Hudson for Literacy Days. Teams of kindergarten teachers, principals, resource teachers from every elementary school gathered to review literacy screener data and explore strategies for setting foundational literacy and language skills in the classroom. We needed to spread it over 3 days, so 3 great mornings on the Hudson site. A lot of the students there were very interested to see what was happening in their gymnasium over those days. The gym was full of a lot of energy. Much appreciation for everybody's involvement and the many presenters at the breakout sessions. Some of the topics were things like building strong foundations for class-wide inclusive literacy routines for every learner, words in bloom, growing language skills in kindergarten, and all that we are is story. So every attendee got some choice in the learning sessions that they participated in. And we're very much looking forward to seeing the continued work in classrooms across VSB of the responsive literacy framework. I have to say the responses of folks and the energy and the learning that is being brought back to each elementary school across Vancouver was very inspiring. Next slide, please. To celebrate Black Excellence Day on January 15th and in the lead up to Black History Month in February, students from John Oliver participated in a Blackathon. Hosted by Ethos Lab, the Blackathon is a Black History hackathon where students engage in STEAM-based learning while celebrating and learning about Black history. You can see some of the learning that was happening up on the screen. You can move to the next slide, please. Our recruitment team has been very busy visiting university career fairs that they've been attending, and those include University of Victoria, UBC Vancouver, the University of Calgary, University of Alberta, and McGill University. Along with university career fairs, our recruitment team has been attending events held by Work BC and Success in an effort to recruit for key support staff positions. We also continue to host information sessions for VSB's Education Assistant Program through the Burnaby Continuing Education Program. In the month of January, we have onboarded more than 100 new teachers on call and support staff. And we've been seeing them at the Education Center as they've been coming in for their orientation sessions. And the next slide, please. As you all know, very important, our work in connecting with community and families. So we continue to do that in a broad number of ways. December's After the Bell podcast covered career programs and how students can get a head start on their careers while still at secondary school. This month's podcast, which will be available soon, is all about the transition to grade 8 from elementary school, which is on lots of people's minds this time of year. VSB Voices is where a community of volunteer participants share their thoughts about various education-related topics. And we are actively looking for some more participants for the 25-26 school year. So if you are a parent, guardian, if you'd like to be part of VSB Voices, you can find links to join on any of our social media pages. And as the chair mentioned earlier, the annual budget survey is currently open, so we very much encourage people to participate. It is very important to help the trustees decide how to invest available dollars to support student success. And that's the end of my report, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for the superintendent? Wonderful. Well, it's always great to see what's happening at schools and in the school community. Moving to item 5 tonight, committee reports. We'll go to Facilities Planning Committee and ask the chair of the committee, Trustee Friedcoat, to move receipt.
Thank you, Chair. I move receipt of the report for January 14, 2026 Facilities Planning Committee in this agenda.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Trustee Fraser. Are there any questions? Okay, seeing if there are no objections, we'll move receipt. Okay, there are no objections. Thank you. Item 5.1.2, matters arising.
Yes, Chair. We have a recommendation from the Facility Planning Committee regarding the Environmental Sustainability Plan. I'll move that the Board of Education of School District Number 39, Vancouver, approve the Environmental Sustainability Plan.
Seconder. Thank you, Trustee Richardson. Any discussion? Trustee Ma and then Trustee Fraser.
Yes, this is a very in-depth plan. One of the things that I highlighted when I attended the facilities meeting, when we first took a look at this sustainability plan, was particularly on Agenda Package 33 of 117. And under leadership, there's a mention of administrative support is helpful, but secondary to educator initiative. And I brought up at that meeting the importance of the board supporting teachers and educators as they implement this plan, and particularly in terms of support, perhaps through the issue of professional development, which I would like to see supporting educators in this way. And the other thing I had mentioned in the plan was on page Agenda Package 36 of 117, which under the objective 1.4 was to look at the commuting habits of families and staff to understand a more complete picture of ongoing impacts. And at that facilities meeting, I also mentioned that the idea of staff doing a transit survey to find out how our students and our parents and grandparents get their children to school. And I think that that information, if we were to do a survey of that type, would be very helpful in terms of us finding out what we can do as a board to encourage our students and our parents to reduce gas emissions as well, to help mitigate climate change. So I'm hopeful that maybe that will be forthcoming.
Trustee Fraser.
Yes, thank you. And thank you to all the staff who worked on this. It is a very more in-depth plan than the previous plan, and I think expanded in many areas, acknowledging the work that's already been done and the other areas that we can step into. I'm very supportive of it going forward, but I have some questions I'd like to ask about the plan. And the first is around the theme 3 of green spaces, talking about specifically shade, trees and groves. And I know the City of Vancouver and the Park Board are working on increasing, their desires to increase the tree canopy in Vancouver. And they must have some way of measuring the tree canopy across the city. I'm wondering if we have access to their data, and if that information, if we can access data through their work, that could help us as a district, measure our tree canopy and maybe help us to understand where to focus efforts.
Okay, we'll ask Jesse Gresley-Jones, Executive Director of Facilities.
Thank you. Yes, so the VSB sites are included in the municipal and regional tree canopy studies. We do have access to that data, and it will be able to inform the work we do. We have both the tree canopy data and other factors, including heat island effect, that can help us determine priority sites where tree planting would have the most significant impact, both for our sites and for the neighborhoods that they lie within.
Thank you. A follow-up, Trustee Fraser? No? Oh, yes, okay.
A separate question, so not really a follow-up. I'm curious about the energy management score that was on page 29. It's not a measure I've seen before, and I'm curious if this is a provincial scoring system, or is it something that's developed by the VSB?
Jesse, is that a question for you?
Yes, so it's not a provincial standard. It was a score that was modeled after SD42, which was included in their sustainability plan, and we have adapted to the Vancouver context.
That's Maple Ridge Pit Meadows. Thank you. Okay, any follow-up from you for that question? Okay, great. Trustee Richardson.
Thank you, Chair. I too would like to thank Jesse and his staff for this very comprehensive report. And I think it's a model in terms of the aspects that we will be delving in as we move forward. Just a couple of observations, and a couple of the issues have been raised. Certainly there's partnerships, and certainly we saw in that document the fact that some of it's aspirational in the sense that it will depend upon sources of funding, both provincial and otherwise, that are beyond our immediate availability. And so I just note that it seems that we're at a stage where if we want to move forward and do the right thing, we're going to have to develop those partnerships. And I do call out or shout out the BC Parks Foundation for the grants that they've offered. As for the tree canopy, that was something that we discussed in the committee meeting. And it is something this summer while in the community, I kind of went from school to school to school. And it was interesting very much that those that had tree cover and a canopy were active spaces in the community in the summertime. Those that didn't have it, and I just kind of shout out, I think it's Henry or General Gordon, that in their redevelopment, they made a conscious decision to put mature trees, and therefore that became kind of a hub in the community. And the last thing I did note, the concept of this energy management score may in fact be a useful tool to use in other aspects of what we do in terms of providing an opportunity for ongoing ranking and to demonstrate incremental progress towards the objectives in whatever the aspect of the report. So moving this forward, I think there's a lot of work to be done, and it will take the partners of the park board and other partnerships to make it successful. And I thank you, and I will be supporting the plan.
Okay, we'll go to Trustee Zhang and then Trustee Fraser.
Thanks. I just want to comment on the report as a whole obviously highlights a lot of important things. I think between the 5 themes that are broken out there, the language in the report is too vague for some of the more specific items in the themes. For example, it's hard to correlate, in my opinion, sustainability in education theme 1 with a strategy for reducing GHG emissions, which I think both things are admirable things to aim for, but it would be nice and it might be more helpful and you might get a better result if you focused on them as separate silos in a more strategic way. So in that way, we can identify more specific things we can do for reducing GHG emissions or energy efficiency. And also, on the other hand, we can maybe have more of what it talks about in theme 1, which is sustainability and education. Thanks.
Trustee Fraser?
Thank you. And the piece around the, we work within the province, and we're part of all the provincial funding frameworks. And one of those is the CNCP, the Carbon Neutral Capture Program. And I know that we make payments to the province based on our emissions. And we get funding back through the CNCP capital program. But I don't see that discussed in the plan, and maybe that's just this monetary factor is a fairly small piece, although it does fund some of the work going on, the sustainability work in our schools. So I'm curious how and maybe this is a bigger question can be answered in the board meeting, how the payments are calculated and how the funding we've got received back from that has affected our district, and is this a significant impact in the work we're doing?
Secretary Treasurer?
So the payments that you're referring to are the purchase of offsets based on the determined carbon footprint for the school district. This is something that it's calculated on an annual basis, and we have to purchase the carbon offsets from the provincial government. It's not a one-to-one relationship between the payments that we make and the funding that we receive under the Carbon Neutral Capital Program. The Carbon Neutral Capital Program is a funding program within the minor capital section of our annual minor capital plan. And at the provincial level, the funds collected from all school districts for carbon offsets are then distributed across the province to fund a variety of projects that advance reducing the carbon footprint of school districts. So any given year, we may not be receiving back the same amount that we paid in carbon offsets, but over a longer period of time, we would be funded based on the submissions that we made to government up to the amount that we have paid.
On a follow-up to that, it's a lot of accounting and paperwork for us to send money and then to get it granted back to us. But I guess that's the system we're in. So, on a more positive, if I may, Chair, on a more positive note, in May of 2024, we got a letter from the Park Board talking about trees and talking about commitments to Vancouver's tree canopy and updating our commitments. So I think it might be helpful if we could, as a board, this came from the chair of the Park Board at the time, share our work to be approved, which I seem to think we might go in that direction. Share our updated plan with the Park Board, and maybe, as we've heard, there's a lot of collaboration around data collection and sharing that data with us, and being appreciative of that relationship and the continued work we're doing together.
Great, thank you. Should this pass, we would definitely be able to do that. Thank you. Would anyone who hasn't spoken like to speak? Okay. Any other comments or questions before we move to the vote? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, Trustee Ma, Richardson, Reddy, Chen, Friedcoat, Chen, Pedley, Fraser, and Young. Those opposed? Trustee Zhang. Okay, thank you, Trustee Friedcoat, for bringing that. And we are now on item 5.1.2.2, which is the Lord Roberts Annex Replacement School Project Funding.
Okay, Chair, we have a recommendation from the committee regarding the Lord Roberts Annex Replacement School Project Funding. And I will move that the Board of Education of School District Number 39, Vancouver, approve the use of up to $2,243,000 from the ministry restricted capital for the Lord Robert Anneck replacement project. Thank you.
Second? Correct, Trustee Richardson. Okay, discussion or comments? Questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor? Trustee Zhang, it's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, Trustee Friedcoat, is there anything more, any more matters arising?
No matter arising. Thank you.
Okay, next we'll go to our student trustee report. And I do want to just remind everyone, if you have any questions to submit, you have until the end of Freddie's report. And so I will pass it over to you, Freddie, to present.
Thank you. In this report, I will provide an update on VDSC's recent initiatives and ongoing work to support and advocate for students across the district. VDSC held its January general meeting on Thursday, January 15th, where the winners of the Canley Cup were announced. Prince of Wales and Hamburg took 5th and 4th place, respectively, while Tupper placed 3rd, Van Tech took 2nd, and Point Grey took 1st place. Across the district, secondary schools collectively raised the equivalent of nearly 270,000 cans in support of the Greater Vancouver Food Bank and other local charities. The incredible success of this initiative highlights the hard work, generosity, creativity, and commitment to their community demonstrated by students throughout the district. This month, VDSC also organized the second district-wide Spirit Day of this year with the theme of Rhyme Without a Reason. We were pleased to see how this initiative brought students together and fostered camaraderie across schools. VDSC is currently planning our next major initiative, the annual Sister School Switch, which aims to foster connection and collaboration among schools across Vancouver. We are excited to be working with all members of the council in shaping and preparing for this event. Looking ahead, VDSC is working on a post-high school panel featuring alumni who will share the diverse educational and career routes they pursued after graduation. Finally, we look forward to working with student leaders through the Student Leadership Fund as their projects begin taking shape across the district. Thank you for your ongoing support.
Thank you. Are there any questions from trustees for Freddie? Trustee Fraser.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you for the report and for being here this evening. I'm curious, you said the district-wide Spirit Day had the theme of Rhyme Without a Reason. I'm curious, in what way was that expressed by students?
Yeah, there were a lot of different ways where the students expressed that in really fun and unique ways, like frog and a dog or a DJ and PJs. Really, really fun to see everybody, share that on our Instagram as well.
I think we should possibly have a DJ and PJs night for the board. I too just wanted for you to expand on the Canley Cup Challenge, because I know that each year it grows, and just a context of last year versus this year, if more were collected this year, if it's usually the biggest fundraiser of the year, or just a little bit more on the Canley Cup, if possible.
Yeah, for sure. This year we did see the Canley Cup grow from our fundraising numbers from last year. And the Canley Cup is really a huge, major initiative for all our student councils across the district who work really hard to fundraise for the Greater Vancouver Food Bank and local charities as mostly their main fundraising event of year. So we're always really proud to see all the hard work of students being put towards this great cause.
Well, we appreciate all the hard work that students do and the staff that help in this endeavor. So thank you and all of your peers for doing that. I would like Seeing no other questions, we'll move to our next item. The link for submitting questions is now closed, and we'll move to item 7, which is trustee representative reports from the different committees that that are external to the school district. So, and you can find them in the package, which were Trustee Fraser at the City of Vancouver Urban Indigenous Peoples Advisory Committee, Trustee Reddy at the City of Vancouver Renters Advisory Committee, and Trustee Ma from the City of Vancouver's Children, Youth, and Family Advisory Committees. Thank you all for the work that you do outside of this, this board and for representing us at these committees. Next, we go to section 8. We have 2 items under new business, and the first one is the 2026 trustee appointments. So I'm pleased to share with you recommendation for trustee appointments to committees and external organizations and agencies, and of course, our Board of Education School Liaison trustees. So I will move that the board approve the 2026 trustee appointments to committees and external organizations and agencies, and the 2026 Vancouver Board of Education School Liaison Trustees effective February the 2nd, 2026. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Trustee Chin. Any discussion? Trustee Reddy.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, just last year and this year, I know Trustee Chen and I had raised that usually there's an east and west allocation for trustees. I haven't had that now 2 years in a row. So just noting that it's, again, I have 2 west side schools and no east side school representation as per previous years.
Okay, thank you for that. I do want to remind everyone that correspondence went out requesting if there were any changes, requests to come to me, and I've heard from some. And so I appreciate your feedback. I do my best to accommodate requests. So feel free to message me moving forward. No other comments. We'll move to a vote. All those in favor? Trustee Zhang, Trustee Richardson, Trustee Chen, Friedcoat, Champedley, Trustee Fraser, Trustee Young. Those opposed? Trustee Mon, Trustee Reddy. Okay, we'll move now to 8.2, which is the National School Food Program funding. I will move the recommendation in the report that the board approve the 2025-2026 National School Food Program spending plan. Is there a seconder? Trustee Friedcoat, thank you. I'd like to open the floor up for discussion or comment. Trustee Richardson.
Thank you, Chair. I thank you for the report, and my first initial comment is I'm very pleased that through advocacy and that we were in fact able to raise our annual allocation of these federally allocated funds considerably. I do note that we have a lot more work to do, but I'm pleased that we're moving in that direction. I just have a comment that this program has restrictions on how funds are offered. And given that this board took the initiative many years ago, and it was people that are in this room, but I wasn't there, that initiated the need for this, and then saw provincial funding come along fairly recently, and now federal funding. I do note that we have some flexibility, but I'm not sure, it may be something that we need to inquire about, is that in the report, and my computer has now died, so I can't give you the reference, but it does refer to the fact that the funding from this program is unable to access funding out or during school holidays and non-instructional days. And I guess food is something we consume each and every day. And I'm just, my comment is this short-sighted? Or is it tone deaf? Or is it just something that we need, as we did with the, I say, faulty allocation of funds to this district, that through education and advocacy, we were able to correct the short-sightedness. I appreciate that we can juggle, use our money more flexibly than their money, but I just think that we should strive for that. And my final comment is that I'm grateful for any funding, but that I think that we should ensure that the funding is in fact as flexible as possible to meet the complex needs of our district. Thank you.
Any other trustees? Trustee Fraser.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for the report. And Trustee Richardson acknowledged the increase in federal funding. And I'd like to acknowledge the City of Vancouver continuing to fund the district at the same level, which may not have been the case. But I think the different places where the money comes from, the provincial, the federal, the city, private donations, other organizations, speaks to the precarity of funding. And I'm curious if that is why some of the staffing increases are mentioned as temporary. Is that because we don't know how much money will become coming forward in the future, and we don't have any control over external costs like the cost of food and that sort of thing? So I'm just curious about why that's presented in the way it is.
Secretary Treasurer.
Yes, the reason why we had to identify the staffing increases as temporary is because the funding that is currently provided under the National School Food Program and expected to be received next year is not sufficient to cover the same level of staffing as we are going to deploy this year. And that's why we provided also estimated costs for next year. So you can see that if we were maintaining the same levels of staffing, our cost will actually be $1.14 million. So if the funding that is going to be provided is only 900,000, then we have to restructure this offering within that funding available.
Trustee Reddy.
Thank-
And I just want to remind everyone in the room about the rules we have in the room, and I ask you follow them. Go ahead, Trustee Reddy.
I was just wondering if the Secretary Treasurer, maybe you could just comment on that last line item where it says equipment and installation for the upcoming year, there's $0 allocated. Is that just from this fund in particular? Like, why would it be zero? And is there any other funds that we're allocating from our own capital?
So the purpose for the second column is just to simply advise the board whether or not this is a cost that is likely to be incurred again next year or only a one-time cost. So these purchases of equipment like the self-serve fridges, once we buy them this year, we don't have to buy them next year again. That's why there is no cost. There are other equipment budgets that we have within our operating and Feeding Futures Fund. Also, there is a provincial capital fund that we have made applications under, and we haven't heard back, but we hope to receive some funding under that as well for equipment.
Any follow-up? Okay, we'll move to Trustee Ma.
Thank you. So I remember last year when we received our funding from the province, it was less amount. So did they ever make that up or give us anything more for that?
The funding has not increased. That funding is recalculated on an annual basis. And based on our enrollment in the current year, we were provided with a lower allocation.
Go ahead.
On the page 114 of 117, the last sentence just before the recommendation, it talks about that the 2026-2027 spending plan will be approved as part of the 2026-2027 financial plan. So is that going to be the difference that we will be looking at, which is 238,165? Because I subtracted the two numbers, is that correct?
So the full plan is going to be developed part of the financial plan after we know what the funding is from the province. So at this point, we just have an assumption that the funding is going to be the same, but the funding has not been confirmed by the province yet. So when we know what the funding is, then we would look at all the available sources of funding for the school meals programs that we have and bring a comprehensive budget submission to the board for consideration.
One last question. So the city of Vancouver, I remember last year there was an issue with those grants and we were able to get those grants back. Do we know if the city is intending on continuing that grant or have we heard otherwise?
The city has confirmed the grant for 1 more year. We're in the process of completing the agreement with the city. So we are receiving another $325,000, which is going to be spent over 2 fiscal years for VSB. The current year, 25-26 and 26-27.
May I ask a question in relation to Trustee Ma's formula question? So if it's recalculated annually, is there risk moving forward that we could have another calculation like previous years where we had a major drop in funding?
It all depends on enrollment in the VSB and enrollment in other school districts and the factors that are taken into account in determining the funding. For the National School Food Program, a swing similar to what we see this year from 125 to 900, it's highly unlikely, but a small change, it's probable.
Thank you. Are there any other, Trustee Fraser?
Thank you, Chair. And as the Secretary Treasurer just said, the change in funding through the federal food program is quite substantial. So that gave us a little bit of leeway a little bit more leeway in how to allocate the funds. And I appreciate that the way it's proposed is that there are different touch points for different students. So there's breakfast programs, there's lunch programs, there's self-serve fridges, there's snack carts. And I would like to thank, and I'm certain that's in part because of the feedback we've received at the committee meeting from our stakeholders, students and parents. So I'd like to thank the people who gave their input and appreciate that the way in which food is provided is evolving over time and that we're able to reach out in different ways.
Okay, seeing no other comments or questions, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor? Trustee Zhang, Ma, Richardson, Reddy, Freecoat, Chan Pedley, Fraser, and Young. Those opposed? Trustee Chen. Next, we'll move to notices of motion. So we have 3 notices of motion for the BC SDA Annual General Meeting. And as these recommendations are from me, I'll pass the chair to Vice Chair Fraser so that I may present them.
Thank you, Chair. And would you like to have these notices of motion be addressed at the meeting this evening, or would you like to refer to committee?
I would like them to be addressed tonight. They have gone through our advocacy subcommittee with feedback from our formal stakeholder groups and rights holders. And so I would like them to move forward as we have an AGM soon, and we will submit them shortly as soon as the meeting, as soon as we address them after the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And if you'd like to go ahead with your first notice of motion, the review of the $10 day.
Do we need to have a vote to deal with the notice of motion? My understanding is that if there's a notice of motion and it's urgent, do we not take a vote to deal with those motions and there needs to be a 2/3 agreement to go forward?
My understanding is that these are on the agenda and we approved the agenda as a board, so we should go ahead and consider them. Trustee Reddy?
Thanks, trustee Fraser Chair, for the time being. I also have the same concern and that we've just done that with all three motions. I also am not understanding how these motions made it onto this agenda, but already have been discussed by the advocacy committee. How did that happen?
Maybe I can go to the Secretary Treasurer.
So this is the process that was followed last year and this year, where advocacy type motions are discussed with the advocacy subcommittee so that they can be refined before they are brought forward to the board for consideration. This particular draft motions were submitted by Trustee Young in accordance with the VSB policies and forwarded first to advocacy subcommittee for their feedback before being brought forward to the board. And they have been included in the agenda package when it was circulated last Wednesday. So with a week notice to the entire board.
Right, thank you, Secretary Treasurer. And then if Chair, if you'd like to present the first notice of motion, the review of the $10 a day childcare program to ensure equitable access.
Sure, I move that the board approve the following motion to be submitted to the 2026 BC School Trustees Association AGM. That the BCSDA urge the provincial government to complete within the next 12 months an equity-focused review of the $10 a day daycare program, $20 a day childcare program to ensure equitable access and to provide to prioritize availability for families most in need. And that the BCSDA requests that this review include the development of transparent prioritization criteria, regional equity considerations, performance targets, public reporting, and mechanisms for school district input, particularly where childcare is delivered on school district property.
So thank you for moving the motion. Is there a seconder? Trustee Richardson. And to speak to the motion?
Thank you. This motion is because families experiencing vulnerability continue to face unequal access to affordable childcare in many regions. And the intention of the $10 a day childcare program is the intention is that everyone has access. And right now, that is not the case. In a perfect world where everyone has access, I wouldn't bring this motion forward. However, uneven implementation of the program has created disparities that directly affect children's readiness, attendance, and family stability. School districts hosting childcare observe these gaps firsthand. So an equity-focused review, just a review. I'm not, specifying any changes. I'm really looking for an equity-focused review so that prioritization criteria can be created to help ensure scarce spaces are directed towards families with the greatest need and will improve alignment between provincial policy and district level childcare partnerships. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this motion? Trustee Ma.
I have a lot to say about this, so I'm going to read it. So as much as this motion tries to address the problem of what is happening with the $10 a day childcare program, it doesn't directly address the goals of Bill C-35, an act respecting early learning and childcare in Canada, which was introduced in the House of Commons on December 8th, 2022. This is actually from the canada.ca website. The federal goal for a Canada-wide early learning and childcare system is for families, no matter their socioeconomic standing or racial identity, whether their child has a disability or needs enhanced or individual support, or where they live in Canada, to have access to high-quality, affordable, and inclusive early learning and childcare. Federal funding comes to each province, and our provincial government is tasked to implement this goal. Access to an approved $10 a day childcare center is based on each location's licensed capacity and wait list. I want to make it clear that I am not opposed to the $10 a day program. The problem is not equitable access, The problem is availability. There simply are not enough spaces. Even if we are to have the provincial government look at equity, the review would still not result in more spaces. Furthermore, the motion to look at an equity review does not address childcare workforce shortage. Training, recruitment, and retention must also be looked at alongside with the need for more childcare spaces. This motion would also not address the issue of salaries either. A couple of weeks ago, the Vancouver Sun reported that many $10 a day operators are being asked to sign new contracts that would provide them with less money to operate, and one Vancouver operator would have to cut their staff wages by as much as $6 an hour. In closing, this motion to ask the BCSTA to have the provincial government do a review will probably give us data of what we already know, which is that in order to expand a universal $10 a day childcare program, there needs to be the creation of more spaces for all our children that deserve quality, affordable, and inclusive childcare, and also a commitment from our provincial government to fund training, recruitment, and retention of high quality and fairly paid childcare workers. Access needs to be universal for all that need childcare. I'm talking about everyone, not just people who have a lower socioeconomic. People who have good paying jobs pay more taxes, and those taxes should fund universal access. And so it's for this reason that I will be voting no on this motion.
Trustee Richardson?
Thank you, Chair. I will be voting in favor of this motion. And what has been brought up by my fellow trustee, Ma, is some very good questions. But I think that doing nothing isn't a positive approach. When the responsibility for early learning, and I do note that in some provinces like Nova Scotia, the education, it's the Ministry of Education and Early Learning, but we've chosen to use the word childcare. So they are combined, and it's within our responsibility, because if children are better prepared to be students through the improved childcare system with trained instructors, with adequate spaces and all those other things, it helps us. I do agree that a universality or universal program is what we would like to see yesterday. I think the purpose of this motion is just to identify the fact that we need a conversation. Same as food. And I see the analogy. We both talk about a universal food program, but we haven't ignored the fact that we've got to do something. So this board, as I said, 10 or 12 years ago or 12 years ago, moved in that direction and said, better that we do something. It may be our ultimate goal to have a universal food program. Same with this, is that I think that a $10 a day is a nice objective. Certainly, it's been promised by various governments. And, you know, there are lots of things that we can, inequitable aspects to it. But I think that a review is a good place to start, which will provide evidence and information as we move forward to strive for what I think is the objective is properly trained, properly paid workers and available spaces for all. So I think it would be important for this board in terms of our mandate, in terms of children, to support this and to see the BCSTA deal with this motion. Thank you.
Trustee Champedley?
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm also in support of the motion. I think that in the case of a limited resource, which is something that we all agree childcare availability currently is, the practical next step is to conduct an equity scan I think if the resources existed to make everything available to everyone, then it would have already be done. It would already have been done. Because who doesn't want more childcare? And with this, as previous speakers mentioned, I think with this conversation, we can try to make sure that the most needy can access this currently scarce resource until the day at which it is available universally, which I think we all want.
Trustee Freecoat?
Thank you, Chair. I am also in support of this motion. I believe there has been many gaps and prioritizing the provincial government to look into this program and giving them a timeline for 12 months is actually filling those gaps. Most of the time, the people who need the childcare the most are the least who receives it. So I believe this can actually help in reviewing that process and going forward from there. Thank you.
Trustee Reddy?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. So on this motion, I just had a couple of comments that I've been thinking about and just listening to the discussion now, but I don't support a move away from the provincial government's commitment to universality in childcare provision. And the motion is incongruent with what the provincial direction had been from 2018 and trying to reach the goal to 2028, which we're still far away from. Because that would enable childcare access for every family. That's the target that we're working with and towards. What I do further worry about with any income testing is that allocating any further support for government formulas, as we just saw in the food program, they change them. They can change the income test and further disqualify families and kids from accessing very needed childcare. And result in poor programming for folks from lower socioeconomic demographics, as we've seen with other provisions. So I certainly do not support any income testing for social programs like childcare, and would not in the case of this motion, and certainly not on school sites that are also of use of public funds. So definitely not in support of this motion. Thanks.
I have a question for you, Trustee Young. This came to Advocacy Subcommittee. I'm curious if there was any comment or feedback from the committee on the motion.
There was some feedback, and some of what Trustee Reddy and Trustee Ma said, you know, the intention of universal is really, until that happens, there needs to be some alignment of principles in accessibility, equity, inclusion. And a lot of the feedback included, until that happens, then we should be doing more. Some feedback also was this could get caught up in the bureaucracy of another review, which I too agree can happen. However, it was also brought up some feedback that like the actual dollar amount for this to become universal from the province, and you know, $1 billion, what it would cost to provide this program, and then how much more it would bring back to the economy. So I think there was a lot of information shared. However, it was moved through to come to the board in support of the motion.
Right, thank you. Is there anyone else to speak to the motion? Then would you like to close?
Thank you. It's really about families not being left behind. And I think that there are, this city has great gaps in income and in accessibility. And I completely agree, you know, with Trustee Reddy, when a social program is funded, it should be funded in its entirety. And I think that's the intention of the $10 a day program. And they've done incredible advocacy. And I want to give a shout out to the $10 a day program, the advocates, Sharon Gregson and team, because we have come far. We have come far. However, until we have it, until it's universal, I think we do also need to look at being more accessible and equitable in the way that it's distributed. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Then we'll go to the vote. All those in favor? So myself, trustee Young, trustee Zhang, trustee Richardson, trustee Chen, trustee Freecoat, trustee Champedley, those against? Trustee Ma and trustee Reddy. So the motion does pass. And trustee Young, if you'd like to move to the next notice of motion?
Thank you. I move that the board approve the following motion to be submitted to the 2026 BC School Trustees Association AGM. That the BCSTA request the provincial government within the next 12 months review and revise capital childcare policies, guidelines, and funding criteria to enable the creation of additional before and after school care spaces within new school construction and major additions, including the explicit eligibility of dual purpose instructional spaces and shared use design features.
Okay, thank you. And is there a seconder for this motion? Trustee Freecoat? And speaking to the motion?
Yes, so we have a lot of space and teachers are generous in sharing their classrooms. So the basis of this is that we have more space to be shared and is more flexible. So however this looks, it could be a review so that there are more built-in lockable cabinets in potential shared space. We hear feedback that a lot of teachers put a lot of time and money and care into their classrooms and potentially aren't as willing to share their space with a new group. And so I'd like the intention of this was to, and I guess I can read my rationale, the demand for before and after school care far exceeds available space, impacting families, employment stability, and student well-being. So school districts are well positioned to host school age care, but current capital funding criteria and design limitations prevent districts from incorporating flexible or dual use spaces into new school construction. So updating these policies will enable more cost-effective expansion of school care spaces when schools are built or expanded, with the intention of more shared spaces for all. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else would like to speak to this motion? Trustee Freecoat?
Thank you. I am in support of this motion. It actually helps us build the school and reflect how families are actually living and working today. It is more affordable to design this before than retrofit it later. So I think this is a great motion to bring it up to the provincial government for them to actually revise how they are allocating funds so that the school districts are, proactive in creating those spaces for the teachers. Thank you.
Trustee Ma?
I have an amendment. I'll pass it along to you. Oh, excuse me. And I'll just wait a minute until the amendment's up on the screen.
I can say it would be helpful if the amendments could be submitted to staff ahead of the meeting. Maybe we'll just take a short recess to make sure that everything's aligned. We'll be back in 5 minutes. thank you for your patience with our short recess, and we now have the wording of the amendment on the board and on the screen rather. So Susie, you are moving the amendment?
Yes, I am. I'm moving the amendment in red and also the change to the title.
Okay, and is there a seconder for the amendment? Trustee Reddy, if you'd like to speak to the amendment, Trustee Ma?
Yes, I think what this does is it looks at the overall picture and not just in new construction. I think it's important for the government to look at the existing spaces and provide some guidelines and criteria. And hopefully, when they do this review and we get information and data, we will be able to offer more capacity.
Thank you. And Trustee Young?
Yeah, I just have a question. I see the change in the title and the change in the body. So and maybe this is a question to the mover. When it says "and current spaces," are you referring to current construction? So, or current space as in our existing?
Chair, Chair. Can I answer that? It's incorrect. It should be to expand before and after school care capacity in new school construction and existing spaces, school spaces.
That's you're in the title?
Yes.
Okay. Right. If we could maybe get that update. Again, if we could submit amendments before the meeting, that would help the meeting run more smoothly.
Chair, if the meeting will agree, can we change the word current spaces to existing spaces? It would make it consistent with the title.
Right. Okay.
We would have to have unanimous.
We will let that be the amendment. I will rule that that can be the amendment.
Thank you, Chair.
Christopher, you're speaking to the amendment?
Chair, I am speaking to the amendment. I think this just expands what is a good idea to be even a better idea. So I will speak in favor of the amendment. Thank you.
Trustee Young?
I am going to speak, I think this is a great idea. However, I'm speaking against it because the intention of revising a policy is for what is moving forward. And I just am concerned that there would be more reluctancy to adopt a policy that is, that the ministry, it would just cost a whole lot more. And I think there's potentially more of a likelihood of implementing it for moving forward as opposed to implementing it in existing spaces currently, because we have over 100 schools and I think it would be harder to move through. However, I like the idea and the concept and appreciate the amendment.
Trustee Chen?
Thank you, Chair. I like the idea, really like the idea. But then I will speak against the amendment. I think what Victoria mentioned is like just Young mentioned. If only for the new school site, it will take X year to implement it. And then if we put in existing space, it will become X plus Y years. So I think it's taking too long. Well, but I like the idea, but I think we need to address what we can speed up the process to. Thank you.
Is there anyone else speaking to the amendment? Trustee Reddy?
Yeah, thanks, Trustee Ma. I think if we're going to try to move something through BCSTA and direct provincial work within the next 12 months, it makes sense to include all of our infrastructure in an ask like this. So thank you, I support it.
All right, if there's no other speakers, then we can move to the vote. All those of, oh, would you like to close? Trustee Ma?
Thank you very much. So again, I think that if we're going to ask the government to do a review and a revision, it makes sense to look at everything. And I know that, you know, we always talk about if we ask for less, maybe we'll get it. But if we ask for more, we won't get it. I think we need to stop thinking that way. I think we need to say, you know what, this is what the district needs. We have heard from parents that before and after school care capacity is needed. And so why would we not want to get more of that for our our children. So that's why I think it's important for this review to include existing spaces.
Thank you, Trustee Ma, and then we will vote on the amendment. All those in favor? Myself, Trustee Ma, Trustee Richardson, Trustee Reddy, Trustee Freecoat, Trustee Champ-Pedley, and those against? Trustee Young, Trustee Zhang, and Trustee Chen, so the amendment does pass. And is there anyone else who would like to speak to the amended motion? Trustee Richardson?
Just very briefly, I think that the provincial government has some tough decisions to make, and it's got districts that don't have any schools, and we have schools. But I think that this simply highlights the fact that it may be as simple as amending the area standards so that there is this the concept of a flexible or a dual use space. I think it's unfair for those that think that the answer is simply to wave a wand and make all spaces dual and flexible that haven't been designed for that purpose. That just isn't going to efficiently happen. So I think the purpose of this motion and this expanded motion, I appreciate that we may want to, I mean, those are two different things in terms of facilitating this, but this is something that we should strive for. And I think that this motion would apply to all districts. And I'm in favor of the motion.
If there's no one else to speak, then Trustee Young, would you like to close?
Thank you. I appreciate all of the support we've seen and the discussion, and I think all of us agree that there needs to be more before and after school space to accommodate the needs of our district, and I ask you all to support this motion. Thank you.
Okay, and moving to the vote, all those in favor? So there is unanimous support for this motion. And Trustee Young, this is your third notice of motion?
Thank you very much. I move that the board approve the following motion to be submitted to the 2026 BC School Trustees Association AGM. That the BC STA request the provincial government within the next 12 months review and, where appropriate, amend the School Act and associated regulations to provide clear, current, and consistent definitions of the roles, responsibilities, and authorities of the district parent advisory councils and the parent advisory councils. And that the BC STA request this review be conducted in consultation with boards of education, the BC CPAC, the DPACs, PACs, and Indigenous right holders to ensure alignment with best practices in parent engagement and with other relevant sections of the Act and regulations.
Thank you. And is there a seconder for the motion? Trustee Freecoat?
Thank you. So over the past decade, the School Act has undergone numerous amendments, leading to ambiguities regarding the roles, responsibilities, and scopes of both DPACs and PACs. And so ambiguities in the current legislative framework create inconsistent practices and avoidable friction at the local level. Clarifying the statutory roles and scopes through a collaborative modernized update will enhance parental involvement in public education, ensure governance clarity, and support alignment throughout districts. And also, I want to add to the rationale all the work that has gone into this already from our advocacy subcommittee, from the work that DPAC has already done and provided to us. Thank you for that. And so I know a lot of work is already being done. So I'd like to see this move forward, and I ask for your support.
Thank you, Trustee Young. And is there anyone else who'd like to speak to this motion? Trustee Ma?
Yes, I have a question about the motion in the first part, and it says at the end of the first line, review and where appropriate. So who are we assuming that the provincial government would decide what is appropriate or not?
So to
May
the
I?
mover?
Yeah, so mostly clarity. We talked a lot at the advocacy subcommittee about the School Act making changes, it kind of piecemeal, and that to look at it more holistically with the lens of a certain item such as parent advisory councils and district parent advisory councils, it would be easier to make those changes looking through that lens rather than making all the small change, just as we do when we review our policies. So one policy may impact another, but unless you're looking at them all at the same time or look through that holistic lens, sometimes it's not always found. So that's the intention. The intention is to look at it from that approach as opposed to over the last, I can't remember how many years, I think Susie or Trustee Ma, we talked about when the last time the School Act had been revised around DPACs and PACs, and it had been quite some time. So the intention is to clear up and to create consistencies.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else speaking to the motion? Trustee Reddy?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. My understanding with this motion is that our district parent advisory councils are not in support of this, and since it directly is about them, they have also asked for consultation, some engagement internally with them before moving such a motion. So I would not be in support of this. Thanks.
Thank you, Trustee Reddy. And any other comments? Trustee Friedcote?
Sorry, just want to clarify that this is just asking for clarity, right? I know that the PAC and the DPAC does a lot of work for the school, for the students and the community. My question is to the mover. This motion is basically just asking them for their roles as we do the policy for chair, vice chair, or trustee roles as well. You're just asking for the updated version of the roles, right? Is that what it means?
Through the chair. Yes, it's to provide clear, current, and consistent definitions of the roles, responsibilities, and authorities.
Sorry, just to follow up. So it's basically to strengthen our relation with the PAC and the DPAC by having more clarity on everyone's role so that we don't have any conflicts and we work collaborative on one thing, which is students' outcome. Is that what I'm getting out of this motion?
Through the chair, much like we do, where we recently updated the roles of a trustee, the roles of a student trustee, of the chair, of the vice chair, of the superintendent. It is to clarify the roles. We have heard from different groups requesting clarification, and I think that because they are governed by the School Act, it is important that we ask the School Act to do that, or the province to do that we cannot do that. And again, I want to thank all the work that has already been done from our stakeholder groups and our inherent right holders who provided feedback already on this motion.
Trustee Ma?
Yeah, I guess my question is, reviews are good. Looking at things with a new lens and trying to clarify things. But in this respect, it's about a group that already has language around the School Act. And I think that if the group itself, being DPAC, BCC PAC, and PACs, had a question about the School Act, we're kind of going about it backwards. Like you would think that the DPAC would have come to us and said, hey, we need to look at maybe working together and looking at the School Act, looking at how we function within the district, rather than us saying this is a motion that we want to forward without having spent some time working with DPAC. And my understanding is that this motion, although DPAC was represented at the advocacy committee, I don't know that this motion was given or submitted to them prior, so they would have had time to actually go to their respective bodies and get feedback. So I don't think that there's a rush to have this dealt with at this year's BCST AGM. I would actually like to have this motion go back to DPAC so DPAC can have a more fulsome involvement of school PACs to say, you know, is this something that they want done? So given that we're trying to vote and advance this motion forward tonight, I can't support it because I just think it's not a rush. There's no seeming rush to get this done.
Trustee Young?
Yeah, thank you. This review is actually in consultation with DPAC, and so is as suggested here. And we did receive some feedback from DPAC after the advocacy subcommittee. Thank you again for that. And they did state that work is currently underway with BCC PAC and the Ministry of Education and Childcare to advance a few things. And so this, the intention of this includes consultation with, as listed here, boards of education, BCC PAC, DPAC, PACs, and Indigenous rights holders. So the intention of this is to be done in consultation.
Trustee Champedley?
Thank you, Chairperson. As a trustee who's been around since 20 some time ago, this unclarity around responsibilities and roles with DPAC and PACs have been an issue for a long time. I feel like as long as I've been a trustee, there have been discussions at various levels about roles and responsibilities, and our relationship as a board with these bodies. So I mean, you could argue that there's no rush because it's been so long. But I think I think it would be a timely thing to have this discussion, and have this kind of conducted, have this review being conducted at a level that's not just our PAC and our DPAC, but at a level that could really clarify the rules of engagement between these bodies.
Right. Any further speakers? And if not, I'll go back to Trustee Young to close.
Thank you. I ask for support in this motion, and I think it's great when we are around a table with trustees from other districts, because we're able to share stories and we're able to share our own lived experiences. And so, you know, this intention isn't specifically for us here. The intention is so that we can support other districts as well, at a provincial level. And yeah, I support my colleague, Trustee Champedley, for all the experience you have on the board and your input. However, I do think it is important that when we have responsibilities, we are reviewing often, because we don't know what we don't know. And so updating roles and responsibilities is something we do at a board level. We committed to doing that for every single role in our policies as a board in the term that we are currently in. And so I think this is just a bigger picture for the sustainability of a stakeholder group, of a group that we expect to and really rely on feedback from. So I ask for support in this motion. Thank you.
Right, so we'll go to the vote. All those in favor? Myself, Trustee Young, Trustee Zhang, Trustee Richardson, Trustee Chen, Trustee Freecoat, Trustee Champedley, and those against? Trustee Ma and Trustee Reddy. So the motion passes. Now that we've concluded this item, I can hand the chair back to Trustee Young.
Wonderful. Thank you. We are now at item number 10, which is the public question period. We do not have any questions submitted tonight, so we're going to go to report on private session. 11, the 11.1 The board authorized the board chair to report to the January 28th, 2026 public meeting that at the special private session of December the 15th, 2025, the board discussed a legal matter. 11.2, that at the second special private session of December the 15th, 2025, the board discussed legal and personnel matter. And 11.3, that at the private session of January the 28th, 2026, the board discussed personnel, property, legal matters, and business interests. And I thank you all for being with us tonight. We have come to item 12, which is adjournment. We've completed, yes, Trustee Ma.
With the, pardon me, with the report on private session with 11.1 and 11.2,
Yes.
were we going to put a timestamp on those?
Right, we had discussed that because we had, that's for the minutes. That's for the minutes. And I differentiated them by saying first and second.
Thank you very much.
If there are no objections, we have an objection. Go
Sorry,
ahead.
was there any question from the question period?
There were no
Okay,
questions.
thanks.
Okay, if there are no objections, we will adjourn. Thank you very much. We'll adjourn at 8:40 p.m.
Thank you, everyone. The live stream has ended. Have